Have you ever had this happen? Your print is looking really good, you've got a ton of layers on there, you're really excited, and then you do one layer, one pull, where you completely miss your alignment, and it turns into a great big mess. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to avoid that. Welcome back to this second episode of my series about creating monotypes on a gel press. If you haven't watched the first episode in the series about all of the materials you want to have available to follow along with this series, I'll pop a link on the screen for you up there somewhere. If you're planning to follow along today, here's what you're going to need. A gel press, obviously. Some paper that's a little bit bigger than your gel press. Some paint. I have titanium white, Payne's grey and transparent red iron oxide. Some washi tape. Some water and a paper towel just to clean off your plate between pulls. So what we're going to look at is how I line my paper up with my plate every single time to make sure that the paint goes down in the same place. There are a number of ways to do this. My way absolutely isn't the only one, but this is what works for me. The first thing I'm going to do is lay out my gel press, and I'm going to do this properly. I want to line it up so that there are no big air bubbles underneath, and that's just going to help prolong the life of the plate. This one is a little grubby, so I'll probably clean it before I start. But that is down. Let me give that a bit of a clean. So I want to make sure that the plate is relatively square. These have quite a lot of wiggle room around them. So it's possible to put it down with, almost diagonally. So let me just show you. I could actually lean that across quite badly and that would not go down well. So one of the helpful things about unrolling it this way is that it goes down in pretty much a straightish shape. Just get those bubbles out. The next thing I'm going to want to do is grab some of my paper, and the first thing I'll do is just line it up next to the plate about where I want the bottom edge to sit. And then I'll grab my washi tape and I am going to tape along, lining up with that bottom edge. So I'm going to take a bit of time to get this level-ish. We can always trim the paper afterwards as well. But that is going to give my paper something to catch on when I line it up. The next thing I need to do is line up this way. So to get my vertical, because I need to know where to stop. And that is a little off. And I'll pop some tape down there. Now I'm going to line that and this up. To get one more bit of tape down at the bottom here, because I want something that will just catch the paper and stop it. stop it from moving once I've got my alignment. This is a little tricky to do, but it's worth it. All right, so that is about right, and I should be able to find the edges pretty easily. So one thing I'm noticing about this paper and this tape is that it's not physically hitting it, so I'm going to actually add a second layer of tape. So I've got something that I can actually slide my paper up to. There we go. So now when I move that down, I've got a physical barrier that says stop, don't go any further. And when I actually lay the paper on the plate, I'm going to come at it with the paper vertical, like that, and move it along until it touches this side. Then making sure that the paper is actually touching both the bottom and the side tape. I will just drop it down onto the plate and push it upwards like that. So that's what I'm going to do when I have paint on my plate. You also need to make sure you pick the paper up in a way that doesn't move the plate, because if you lose that alignment, you've lost the whole print. And I'll show you another technique I use at the end of this video that gets away from that moving plate issue. But for now, I'm going to go on and make my print, and I will let you watch as I go. So here's the other way to do it, because this paper is, or the tape is good as long as you're not doing too many prints. After a while, this corner starts to degrade and the edges can get a little unstable. So what I have, and this is actually for a bigger piece of paper, but I've cut out a hole in a piece of card, and I lay my plate in here. This makes sure the plate is square, and I've actually made these registration marks at the bottom here. So my paper will just slot into that. This is for a slightly bigger sheet of paper, but I can just level up with that. This one has gone missing, so I'll have to replace that and lay it down, and that will be exactly the same every time. This has a bigger lip, so it's easier to get the mark. It's also going to last a little bit longer, but that's pretty easy to put together. As a longer term solution, or if you're doing a bigger run of prints at the same time, this works. But this works perfectly well for 1 or 2 prints. This works perfectly well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found that useful. If you did, I hope you'll join me next time when I'll be talking about how to apply paint and remove paint on the gel press. So I'll see you then.